Would you like to crochet this gorgeous September Falls shawl? You can with my help. And in this video series, I'm going to teach you how.
Hi, I'm Wanda with Sweet Wanda Jean. Sweet Wanda Jean teaches you how to crochet. And then you can make those beautiful Afghans, blankets, and gifts for your family and friends. They'll be heirlooms they can pass down from generation to generation. Today, we're crocheting the September Falls shawl. I just love this shawl. I love the colors. They're warm. And then it's getting cool in the evening, so this is the perfect wrap to put on in these cool, chilly fall evenings and afternoons. I use worsted yarn, size 4. I used 2 colors. I used the variegated, and then I chose one of the bright colors out of the variegated yarn to use as a solid. It makes a nice contrast and shows off that pretty star-shaped motif in the pattern. To make this pattern simple to follow, I broke it down into very small, bite-sized videos. So when you finish this video, you go right to the next one. Be sure to like this video so that other people can find it, and then subscribe to the channel so that you'll be the first to know when I put out a new video. Let's get into the pattern.
Hi everybody. Well, I have a smaller demonstration piece, but I'm going to show you the last row, which was row 46. Put our slip stitch there. We're going to chain 1, 2, 3 and turn. And what we're going to do now, this is our last row. So what we're going to do is 1 double crochet in each stitch and chain 1 space all the way across until we get to the corner. And once we get to the corner, there's a little different thing we're going to do there. Okay, here we are. We're almost to our back corner, the peak of the back of the shawl. And I'll come here. So now this is a chain 3 space. But now that we're turning the corner, we're not putting any clusters in or anything. So what we're going to do is put 6 double crochets in that chain 3 space. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 more. That makes 6. Okay. I'm going to bring it around so you can see what we've done so far. So you can see we've been coming up this side, and now we put 6 in here, and we're turning that corner, and we're going to continue back to our same pattern, which is 1 double crochet in each stitch and in each chain 1 space. All right, and we'll make our edging for the top of the shawl. What I want you to do is finish this up, and then when we get done, we'll talk about that top edge, okay? Okay, so here we are close to the end, and again, it's just 1 double crochet in every stitch. Almost there. I'm going to put that 1 double crochet in that last turning chain. So here we chain our 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to go across this edge. The rough edge at the top, where, and actually what it is the ends of all of our rows, all the way across, which makes the top of the shawl. So we're going to make an edging on that top. So now we're going to crochet across that area. And we're going to be making a different pattern. These are going to be groups of 3 double crochets. So I chain 3, actually, and then we're going to be spacing our 3 double crochets across this edge. And so this is one that there's no exact science to it, but it's all about how it looks. So that's 1 double crochet. This chain 3 stands for a double crochet. This is the 2nd double crochet and the 3rd double crochet. Now what's important about this is that they need to stand alone. We don't want them clustered at the bottom. We want them to stand as a group of 3 like they are here. We want to stand as a group of 3 here. We don't want them to be clustered like they are at the beginning of each row. We want them to be 3 standalones. And we're going to chain 2 after that. And now we're going to make our space. And because we don't have a specific stitch to go into, I find, let me put this under here, I found that the best way to do that is we made our chain 2, so I'm going to stretch it out a little bit because I want my chains 2 to stand out. I don't want it to be all bunched up together. So we're going to chain 2, and then what I'm doing is I sort of lay it flat and pull our chain 2 out a little bit. And you get to see that in order to make a nice space here, you're going to come in at right about here. You'll be able to eyeball it as you go. But the first few times, I sort of do like this, and this will be where I go in. And you grab any one of those pieces of yarn in that area. Okay, so now you have your space. And then you're going to put the next 2 right next to each other, but not in the same. So I'm going to use this front one right here for the 2nd one. And I'll use this one for the 3rd one. So you see what I mean about them standing alone? You have that nice little hole. These stand right next to each other. We're going to chain 2. And I'm going to do that again with my hook. That'll be right about here. You want to be very careful to put them right next to each other, and I'll show you what happens if you've made them too close or too far apart. I'm going to show you another one how it should be, and then I'll show you what a mistake looks like. Okay, so here we go again. You can very well see the spaces in between. I'm going to use the gold. I'm going to take it out and do it on the black so you can see it there too. You can see here's your 3. Here's your cluster of 3. Here's your chain 2 space, cluster of 3. What happens if you put them too close? These are the mistakes that you can make, and so I want you to see them so you'll know what it is if you see it. I'm going to chain my 2, and if you put them too close together, shucks. There we go. So if you put them too close together, And this is what happens when it's too close together. When when the next double crochet is not far enough apart, you see there's no real space in between. You have this sort of V-looking space rather than a nice box square. So that could happen. If you see that, just take it out and know you need to move over one. Move over a little more. There you go. And the other thing that can happen is if you put the double crochets together in the same spot, then they don't have that nice box set. They again begin to look like a cluster rather than a nice square. You see the difference? This is the ones that should be done. That's the way it should look. And this is what it looks like if the three double crochets are too close together or they're in the same spot. Now, there's nothing wrong with it being that way if you want it to look like a cluster. But if you want it to look like a nice little box, which is how I designed this particular pattern to look, then you need to make sure and put them in separate stitches and not in the same. Every once in a while, if the stitch that you're entering is really wide, you might be able to put two in it and still have your nice box look. And now let me show you what happens if you put it too far over. If you put it too far over, put a 3 here. Now if you put it too far over, and you see, you get that leaning effect. And it's just, sometimes it's a little too stretched, and it's too much difference between it and the other boxes. So the box is too big, and you're also getting this shape rather than the square shape. Rather than the nice square block space. So, okay. So I'll meet you at the other end, okay? Just continue the pattern just as we discussed. Stretching that out and figuring out where it should go. And I'll meet you at the other end. Okay, now we're at the end of the row. We're at the end of that top edge. I'm going to put in my last group of 3. I'm going to put up my last group of 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now, because there's no exact number of stitches that you put in, you're just making your groups of 3, sometimes you have a little leftover room, as you can see I do with this one. So I'm going to chain my 2, and I'm not going to be able to put a whole other row of, another group of 3. And actually, if I stretch it like I want to, it'll stretch right out to the end. Might be a little wider than I want to do, a little more than the 2. So I'm going to chain 3. And you may or may not need to do this. You may end where you only have 2. None of that makes any difference because this is your piece and you can make it the way you want to. What I'm saying is that if you have a spot, I put 3, I don't think I needed 3, so I'm going to come out. So as you can see, as I'm judging it as I'm doing it, so will you. And I'm just going to put one double crochet here on the end. So you may end in any of these spots. Now that I look, I probably could have moved it over a little, but we'll work with it. It's no exact. So you may end in any of these spots. If you do, if you have to end with 2 double crochets there, don't worry about it. Now we're just going to chain 1, 2, 3. Going to turn. Okay. So now I close my shutters. Still have a little light here or there, but now you can see I sit right in front of a window, with the window behind me rather. So now you can see a little better the spaces in between. This is our pattern. Chain 2, 2 double crochets in the middle, double crochet, chain. Let's show you the pattern again so you can see what we're doing. It's ruffling a little, but that makes it pretty. You can see that. You can see the pattern here under with the gold under it, and then I'll do it again with the black under it so you can see. Okay, and that's going to be our upper edge. That's our collar edge that goes around your neck on the shawl. And I'll see you at the other end. It goes straight across, same way, all the way across. See you at the other end. Okay, and here we are at the end of our row. I've chain 2, single crochet in the center, chain 2. Here I am at the end, and I've chained 2 already here. And there's 3 double crochets, but there's 3 double crochets here, so I'm going to put in my 2 double crochets in the middle, double crochet like I was before. There we go. And I'm going to chain 1, and I'll make 1 double crochet. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm going to chain 1. There you go. And then 1 double crochet here at the end of the row. And that's our end. You know what? I don't think I'm going to do 1 double crochet. I'm going to take that out. Okay, 2 double crochets here, chain 2, and slip stitch right there in the chain 1 space. I'm sorry, in the top of that, chain 3. So I chain 2, and then I'm going to slip stitch right here in the top of that chain 3 space, and we finish. And I did 1 more, and I'm going to pull out and cut. And this is our demonstration piece. So if you remember on my demonstration piece, I never actually cut. But so that's our finish. And this is what the neck of the shawl should look like. That's what goes across the top of our shawl. And we're finished crocheting. The next thing we're going to do is we'll put fringe on this edge that goes across the back all the way along. We'll have fringe all the way across there. But as far as the crocheting, we are done with this shawl. What I want you to do though, before I come back, is I want you to take your yarn needle. We only need them once in a while, but here it is. It's time for us to use it. Our yarn needle. There we go. And I want you to find all of our little end pieces like this and weave your yarn in. This is my demonstration piece, so I don't want to weave it in here. But I want you to remember how we do this, and that is take it and we're going to weave through our pieces here. since this piece is orange, I want to find the orange, and I'll put it, you'll see I'm putting it underneath the green. Underneath the green to hide it. And then I like to go across diagonally through stitches because it tends to hide better that way. And then once I come out, I go through several stitches diagonally and come through. Okay? And you notice how it just disappeared. You don't even see where the yarn is now. Go through again. Go up, you can find it. Twist your needle through and watch it disappear into it. There you go. Can't even probably find it where it went. Okay? So as I said, that's what you're going to do with all these pieces. Now this is a red piece, so you can see here's where mostly the red yarn is. You're going to weave it through serpentine and go through. You can go through here, through the green because there's red spaces, there's red specks in there. So you'll find ways to do it. And once you get down to about this much, then just snip it off and you won't be able to see the end. I don't want to totally do it on this one because it's my demonstration piece, and I will take this apart. So I'll see you once you get all your pieces woven in, all your little end pieces woven in. Then we'll come back and put our final edging, which is the fringe on our shawl. Okay? Okay, folks. Hi, how you doing? We are almost done. We're going to do our last part of our shawl, and that is the fringe. I've started a little so you can see how it's going to look. I think it's gorgeous. I think it gives such a finish, such a beautiful finish to this shawl. What I want you to notice, the very first thing, is that all of these are all put on in the same direction. We have one side. To me, there's no right or wrong side, but each side looks different. So you'll see that this side has the yarn coming across the two pieces of yarn coming out. And you'll see that this side is the opposite side, where it's going around the back. As I said, to me, there's no wrong or right side. However, I think it looks best if it's always turned the same direction. So whichever way you start it, just make sure that each one is the same direction. I skipped putting some here. I'm going to put those there later. But first of all, what I wanted to let you see is how the fringe looks. And then I'm going to show you how to make it. Okay? You're going to use a piece of cardboard. Just cut yourself a piece of cardboard. I cut mine off of a bakery box. This is about 6.5 inches long. And that's because that's how long I want my fringe. I want it about 6 inches. 6.5 is good in case you need to trim it. So I do about 6, and this is a 6.5 inch long. So what I'm going to do is take the yarn. Very easy to make fringe. Take the yarn and wrap it around. You're going to do it as many times as you want. And I'm using the variegated yarn for this. I like using the variegated yarn. It's up to you. You might want to use the accent yarn for your fringe. It makes, it's really your project and what you like, but I think the variegated looks best. And I'm watching for that end, and I'll tell you why in a minute. There we go. So I keep that in, and the end I started with invisible. Okay, so I'm going to say that's enough. The reason why I do that is because I want this end and this end to be and the last piece, which is gonna wrap on this other side, to be on I want the ends to be at the same. And then once I do that, I'm gonna take my scissors, come through, and we're just gonna cut the ends. Now these are my dull scissors, so there you go. There you go. And snip that last one. There you go. Now you have your fringe pieces. They're all the same length. So because this was 6 inches, 6.5 inches, of course, my actual yarn pieces are 13 inches. And that's fine. I'm going to take that one piece of yarn. I'm going to match up the ends so that they are even. I want to keep the ends even. The reason why you do that is it cuts down on having to trim your fringe once you get done. So now that you have it like you want it, as I said, the shawl is large, so I didn't want to waste time doing it on my demonstration piece, so that's why I'm using my actual shawl. But the shawl is large, and so it takes a lot of space. Using my same hook, you can use your same hook or you can use one that's smaller. So it's just like, for me, it's just like crocheting. I'm going to enter the stitch under the V. Now that I've got it even on this end, I'm going to take the loop on this end and I'm going to pull it through. Then I'm going to grab both pieces of the yarn with my hook. This is why sometimes you might want to use a little larger hook, because you're grabbing both pieces of yarn at the same time, and pull through. And that's it. We'll do it again. Now I'm being very random about how I choose my fringe pieces. You could, if you want, look at this and decide, okay, since I've got the orange piece, I want to take the orange yarn. You might want to do that. I didn't want to. I wanted it to be really random. But if you want to extend the color through to your fringe piece, you can. That's a look. Okay, and I'm bringing it up and pulling it through again. And there you go. And if you're careful to make sure you measure them together, your fringe pieces will all be the same, and you won't have to come back later and trim off the long ones. If you're not, then you have some pieces that are longer, shorter, and you'll have to come back and trim the edges off. So this saves a lot of trouble. Again, you want to put your two pieces, your two ends together, pull up, and you have your loop. Now you're going to enter your stitch and pull it through, and there we go. Pull tight. See, that's a common mistake. So I want you to notice that I put the yarn on before I put the hook in. Now you can do it that way, but once you start doing it one way, you need to do it the same way every time so you get the same result. So there you go. yarn pieces together. And pull through. There you go. Alrighty. You just go all the way through the edge that way. I tell you what, another reason why I left this open was because this one, these are not actual stitches, so you don't have that V to go under. This is actually a chain 3 space. So because you don't have that, again, you're going to put your 2 pieces together. Because you don't have that, you're going to go into your chain 3 space just like this, pull up, and do the same thing, but you just don't have a stitch to go into. Let me pull up a little better. There we go. That's one there. And I'm just grabbing, put our ends together again. Inside that chain 3 space. Grab our yarn. And there you go. And I'm going to fill it. I put in 2. So I'm going to go ahead and fill it. It's a chain 3 space, so I'm going to fill it with 3. And you might or may not want to put more in depending on how full you want it to look. There we go. And there's our, I just filled in that space there. Just pull them. And that's it. Okay, so now, see, it's totally filled in there. So what you're going to do is go ahead and finish your project. I'm so glad you stayed with me and completed our shawl. I hope you love it, your shawl, as much as I love mine. I'm not sure, it might end up being someone's Christmas gift this year. But, you know, crochet really is one of the simplest tasks, crafts that you can do. It's the easiest thing you can do because all you really need is a ball of yarn and your crochet hook. And me, I'll be here with you all the way through. Each time you make a pattern, I'll be sitting right next to you, showing you how to do it. So thank you so much for being with me and working with me. And there's crochet love to you all. And you all have a wonderful day, okay?